I picked SMU to go 11-1 and play in the ACC championship game, and you would have thought I tried to kidnap the president's kid. Like I think it's a logical thing that could happen. Let him at least just go 10-2. But what did you think, man? Do you like? I got Georgia winning it, but I don't have Notre Dame in my playoff, Danny.
I don't have them in mind either. I'm assuming 11-1 is SMU's lone loss. Then would be to Florida State at home in their first ACC conference game.
No.
You haven't beaten.
No, it's the week after at Louisville on that sugar
letdown game.
Yeah,
a letdown game.
On that sugar high.
So Notre Dame is really interesting. I think this is going to be so much fun this year. I've been hoping we get this expanded playoff, and there's some things that concern me a little bit about it. There's a chance for some rematches. There's a chance for some 3 matches, right? Where we potentially could see teams square off 3 times. I won't think we'll be bothered by that because they'll be incredible matchups. But Notre Dame is a really interesting case study because they play essentially a 3-game schedule. And I'm curious to know if that's why you left them out too. They're a 3-point underdog in Texas at Kyle Field in College Station that first week. They play Florida State at home as a favorite. And then they have, in the last game, the 3rd game I'm counting is at USC, the last game of the year, and that might be a good game. It might be a good win. So, like, if they go 12-0, they're in. If they go 11-1, I think they're in. But I have them going 10-2.
Yeah.
Oh, you got him out at 10. You got him keeping him out at 10-2.
That's interesting.
Yes, and here's why.
Yeah.
You have to start asking the question, like, what's the good win? Like, if they lose 2 out of 3 of those matchups, like if they only beat, let's say they beat Texas A&M in week 1, like what happens to A&M then? Like, is A&M a 8-4 SEC, 7-5 SEC team? Is that a great win? And then they lose at home to Florida State and would lose on the road to USC. Like, those are bad losses. Like, so, like if I think they have to be 11-1 to have 2 good wins on their schedule.
I do wonder, Danny, let me ask you, if Notre Dame lost, say they go 10-2 and they lose A&M and they lose USC, but they beat Florida State, and Florida State ends up being a 9-win team or better, do you think they get in with that 10-2 because it's Notre Dame?
Yeah, well, see, that's what you said right there, Jake, is what makes me like worried about this.
I think they would take
of the brand.
Oh,
right?
Boy already said he's like ticket sales, home environment, and basically like who's the big dogs at the table. I got Notre Dame 9-3, DK, but listen to my 3 losses. At A&M, I got them beating Florida State at home and going 9-3. I got them losing at A&M. I got them losing at USC, and I got them slipping up at Georgia Tech.
Ooh.
I
can absolutely see that. Like, why not? Like, we've seen crazier things happen. Or what if they lost to Louisville? Like,
I was going to say Louisville
for an ACC championship.
Exactly.
Sure.
I think lost to them last year.
Better. I think
lost to them last year.
Better this year. Even though they did lose Lacey, I think he's out like 6 weeks or something. I saw that the wide receiver they're expecting a lot of. Danny, I do want to ask you this because in my playoff, the way it works out, I firmly believe in the theory when it comes to March Madness, they are trying to set up these games for storylines as much as possible. So if they can possibly set up a storyline, they'll do it. And on my playoff, I've got Oregon ended up playing Miami. You look at some of these matchups. Do you believe that the committee, if there's a chance to do some of these storylines of a used to coach here or you played here, and then you think they kind of edge toward that and they make that pick based on that?
So it was interesting. I was doing a little exercise this morning. We did our brackets, picked our 12, and the way it's supposed to work is you just rank them, strength of schedule, eye test, all those, conference champions, all that, and the 4 will get the bye, and you just put them 1 through 12, and then you plant them in the bracket, and it just spits it out, and you're supposed to respect the bracket, right? That's the mandate the committee has been given. I was worried about rematches. Like, are they going to be allowed to avoid rematches? To your question, like, do they try to set up good storylines? I think they do. I think they're human. I think maybe it's not even like in any nefarious way. I think there's a lot of people in there that love college football that could sit there just like we are and be like, this would be a great matchup. Let's maybe look, and then you throw them back in and you re-vote, right? And so all you have to do is make a tweak or two there. I did it in my own poll or my own ranking, because I had a little cluster of teams and it would potentially had, three matches. Like we talked, playing each other 3 times. All I had to do was bump it 1 seed off and flip-flop. And then all of a sudden, I got way better matchups. I absolutely think they would do the thing, and I actually am totally okay with it. Like, I'm okay if they want to have great storylines and they want to sell certain things, because if they're thinking what are good matchups and what are the fans going to like, which I do think this is supposed to be a part of an entertainment that we're being sold, then I'm actually okay with it.
I'm with it 100%.
This is directly from the College Football Playoff website. It says, and this is like 0.6 of 10 or something like that, the College Football Playoff bracket will follow the selection committee's ranking with no modifications made to avoid rematches between teams that have played during the regular season or are from the same conference. I think they put that on there just to cover their bases, but I agree with you guys. Like, they're human beings who want to see the best matchups possible, as long as it's within reason.
Within reason,
right?
Yes.
Danny, can you go ahead and tell us what the 12 teams are you have in the playoff right now?
Okay, off the top of my head, I'll try to do it.
Yeah, I'll be so impressed if you
can do it, Danny. I believe.
So, first seed, I had Ohio State.
Okay.
Second, I had Georgia. Third, I had Florida State. Fourth, I had Utah.
Okay.
Fifth, I had Oregon. Sixth, I had loser
Auburn.
of the SEC.
Okay, Auburn.
No,
right.
Texas.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Auburn.
You have Texas losing the SEC championship? Okay.
7, I had Penn State. 8, I had Ole Miss. 9, I had Miami.
Okay.
10, I had Texas A&M. That was my long shot. Dark horse.
Hey, do you have A&M going 10-2?
I do.
I do too, Danny.
I'm going 10-2, and I think it's good enough to get in.
They want to put me next to the Joker and Lady Gaga for picking that. I'm like, look at this schedule.
Yeah.
But you still have 11, Texas winning the SEC.
No, I had them second. Georgia wins the
Georgia
SEC,
winning the SEC.
them, and that could be a potential, if they play each other 3 times.
Gotcha.
11, I had, did I say Clemson yet? Because I have 3 ACC.
Not yet.
I'm an ACC guy.
3 ACC.
You got to represent the conference of quarterbacks, as they're calling it down there. Road.
So you have Florida State, Clemson, Miami. Yeah. Okay.
So I had Florida State, Miami, and Clemson all in. And they actually could, if they all had incredible seasons, they all could be 11-1. They don't all play each other. There could be a scenario. I know it's a long shot, but I had to do it. And then my group of 5 team was App State.
Okay.
Which I don't know. I'm kind of affinity. I like their stadium in Boone. They bring back their quarterback Joey Aguilar. I like Sean Clark, their head coach. That one probably. I'll tell you this, fellas. The group of 5 better enjoy the opportunity to play for it, because I only think it lasts 2 years.
Well, Danny, here's something else I said. I got Memphis at 11 or at 12-1 in that spot. I think Liberty goes undefeated, but I think they look at what happened against Oregon last year. And I've got Oregon as the 5 seed, so they would end up playing the 12. I think they'd put a 12-1 Memphis over an undefeated Liberty, because Liberty's schedule is so bad again, and they got their pants pulled down in front of everybody at the high school.
If they go undefeated, they're going to have to be App State on the road. So App State's going to get Liberty, and they're going to get Clemson.
Yeah,
So that's the one. I'm glad you brought that up, because App State they did not play a Power 5 team last year. They don't play a Power 4 team this year. Memphis plays Florida State. App State plays Clemson. There's another one. Boise State, I think, plays one of the Power 4. Like
Oregon.
Even if you don't win that game, if you first of all willing to schedule them, but if you look the part, I think that actually should help your resume. And I totally agree with you guys. I think Liberty's that game against Oregon last year, the committee will remember that and probably hold it against them.
I think they've already forgotten. But as someone with firsthand experience, I don't like talking about Appalachian State.
Dave. Let's
talk about it, Dave.
But I did want to ask one more thing.
Edwards is actually a guest next week.
Now that I know a little bit where you stand on Miami, that's what I wanted to ask you. Miami's never won the ACC. A lot of hype right now. I mean, Cam Ward's going to be as good as it gets at the quarterback position. You don't have them winning the conference, but is Miami for real this year? Can Mario Cristobal get over that hump?
I think so. I am very bullish on Miami. I've got Florida State, Miami playing in the ACC championship game in a rematch. I have Florida State losing in Miami in that first one, and then Florida State exacting some revenge. This is the most talented roster that Miami has had since they've been in the ACC. When we're talking 15 plus years, this is the most talent they've had accumulated together. Don't forget, Damian Martinez comes in from Oregon State. He's one of the better running backs in the country. They've got offensive line talent. They've got defensive depth. They are absolute built to win. Now, the question mark is, can Mario bring it all together? And I do think that Cam Ward, so to full disclosure, like when everyone was after Cam Ward, I was hoping Florida State got him. I was like, man, and I know Florida State wanted him. They got outbid by Miami to go get him, and DJU was somewhat of a consolation prize as sort of the next man up on the market. But Cam Ward is a dynamic playmaker. When he was in back at Incarnate Word, he had a year he threw 47 touchdown passes.
Yeah, that's insane.
And then he goes to Washington State, where there's not that much talent around him, still pulls off some big games and some big upsets. Now he's surrounded with this talent. I actually have him, if you want to take somebody in the Heisman Trophy for a little bit better odds, like I'm going Dylan Gabriel for the Heisman, a little bit chalky, I know, but I think Cam Ward, some really good value for the Heisman, because think about it. If he does play well, there's going to be the storyline of putting Miami back on the map. Yeah. And I think that's going to get him a lot of attention. And I think he's going to play, spectacular. And he puts up a lot of electric plays, those Heisman moments as well when he's on the field. So yeah, to answer your question, David, I'm pretty bullish on Miami.
Gotcha.
All right, Danny, let's get to the chat. We're going to start it off with the Seminole man. What's up? He says, tomorrow, Danny, what do you think the outcome's going to be? I want to trust DJU, but I just don't think he is good enough.
Blaine, I don't think it matters tomorrow. This is a game where I think DJU, I think this is one of the reasons they brought him in. I think there's a floor with DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback for Florida State. Like, he has a ton of talent around him. There's a veteran-laden offensive line where the average age, I think, is 23, and they've all played multiple years. There's a ton of depth. He's got a really strong run game with Roydell Williams coming in from Bama, Lawrence Toafili coming back. The defense is stout, so they should be able to get their stops. So I think DJU can have a pretty workmanlike or game manager type of game against Georgia Tech. So I feel pretty good about the Noles, even laying the 10.5. I like the under in the game itself because I think it could be a little bit sloppy early. Field surface is always a little bit slippery. I think the defenses are always a little bit out ahead. But I think what determines if Florida State is good, I think if DJ is just good. If they're great, I do think DJ has to be great. And that is a question that I don't know the answer to yet. And I need to see it because we haven't seen it throughout his career. We've seen flashes of it. Remember his first start in South Bend, he goes out there and that's where the expectations were off the charts because of what he put on display when he was filling in for Trevor Lawrence. I think Mike Norvell is a very, he's probably an underrated play caller with the schemes that he builds that really fit his different quarterback skill set. So I'm really curious to see because I do think Mike Norvell will put DJU in a lot of positions to succeed, and it's going to be up to him to see if he can hit some of those bigger plays and come through in those plays when nothing is there. That's what separates good quarterbacks from great ones, or those great ones that can improvise, that can make the big play on third down and long when you have to have it, or it's a red zone play and you have to, get a touchdown as opposed to a field goal. And those I don't know about DJ, honestly.
Danny, I'm going to ask you before we let you go, Danny Kanell, you can find him basically everywhere. Obviously, a lot of eyes are going to be on Florida State and Georgia Tech. We've been breaking down the game. We got our bets we do at the end of the show that we're going to talk about as well. But there's another game in the Sunshine State, week 1, that's going to be getting most of the buzz. And it's two teams that aren't exactly your favorite, and that is Miami and Florida. Now, I got Florida. I think Florida's going to win this game. I actually got Miami losing this and running the table the rest of the way. When you look at this matchup, I mean, what do you think right now about a week out?
By the way, I don't hate Florida's win total. I think is it 4.5 still? I know the juice is pretty steep.
And I got them 7 and 5.
I think they're pretty good. By the way, have you heard their guys' schedule is really hard? Oh my gosh, if I hear it one more time about all these SEC schools, man, come on. We get it. It's football. Everybody has hard schedules, and there are some cakewalks in there too. That's why we're both picking Texas A&M. And go check out Missouri's schedule as well. It's a cakewalk as well. Anyway, just had to get that little rant off my chest.
No, good, please.
I cannot wait for this game. This is probably my most intriguing game of week 1. And there's some great matchups. But because of the coaches and what's at stake for them, the programs and what's at stake for the programs who are desperate to kind of have a feel-good type of start to a season, I cannot wait to see it. And I wouldn't be surprised either if Florida did pull it off. I'll go with Miami just because I'm a little bit more bullish on them. But Graham Mertz is a pretty steady, quarterback who's going to be just fine on this stage. It's really Cam Ward's first big moment. But Florida's got some depth, and I do think they'll exceed the very, very low expectations that have been set for him this year. I don't. What's going to be even more fascinating is, let's say they get to a bowl, or let's say if they're 6-6. Does that say Billy Napier's job?
We played What's the Number. We played What's the Number? Like, what is it? And a lot of the Florida fans were like, well, it's not just the number. It's, who is in the number, right? If it's going to be 6-6, it needs to be the right 6, because you're playing the state of Florida. I mean, you got UCF, you got Florida State, you got Miami. I just hope the money keeps coming in on Miami, because they're a 2.5-point favorite. I just need that to get up to 3.5 so I can buy that.
I don't know if it will. I just want to make one more point to piggyback. It has to feel good for you, Danny, to know that what makes Florida's schedule so tough this year are the bookends of the ACC teams. I mean, opening with in-state Miami, closing with Florida State, and then adding really Central Florida in the middle of that schedule is what puts it over the top that we've talked about it every week for a year. If it were just how tough their SEC schedule is, there are 3 or 4 other SEC teams that have that tough of a schedule.
Very true.
No doubt. I can't wait to see what happens with the Gators this year. The best part about it is I just kick back and watch them stress out over it. And I can say, you know what, we got our coach. We've got our program feeling pretty good right now, and just watch them stress out about it. It'll be a ton of fun.
Danny Kanell, one of the best in the business. You're as busy as we are this time of year, brother. Tell everybody where they can find your great work, and I'm sure we're going to link up at some point during the season.
You guys are awesome, man. Enjoy the games this weekend. It's going to be fun. It's perfect little appetizer, right? Just 4 games, keep you entertained. I'm sure you guys will all be dialed into Delaware State, Hawaii at midnight.
Hawaii TTP, I'm big on it.
Delaware missed a flight.
Yeah, finally got there.
Hey, I'm down with TTP. Yeah, you know me. Danny Kanell, to check him out. Appreciate it, DK. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's football season. Let's win some money. Subscribe.